classier move.
Do you think he actually carries his own weed, though?
I don't think Elon has a weed person. I feel like, I don't
Like
really
a weed
know.
butler.
Yeah, I don't know how high maintenance I think Elon is.
I feel like he does try to minimize it. I think that's.
Also, if he operates wanting that much efficiency, there has to be people doing shit for him.
Oh, exactly. Like, I think about I've listened to Mark Cuban talk a few times, and he's talked about I don't make my bed anymore. It was on Shark Tank, and they were telling, he's like, well, I don't make my bed now, and they're like, what? They're like, no, I did an audit. I had somebody study my time, and I found that I spent this many hours a year making my bed, and I'd just rather have that time.
I'd rather have that time. Yeah, to do what with? Whatever the fuck I want.
Exactly. He's like, to go make more money.
Or nothing.
Or take down Big Pharma.
Yeah. Dude, I'm stoked to have you on. You're the first person to put a leg on the table. You're not the first single-legged human I've had on.
Correct.
I think just Derek Carver.
I know.
Derek Carver. I had Paul DeGelder. He's got a fucking gnarly story, but also super interested in yours because it's way, way different. Catch people up to speed is you and I got to know each other through 9 for 9. So the old gym across the river.
That was kind of our first interact in person outside of me being an outside observer to your page and to your content.
Right. So how do you find me? Well, I guess you're competing and doing stuff. So you're also doing Highland Game shit, and eventually you stumble into my stuff. So
I found what I realized is actually my first interaction of consuming anything that you had to say was a Barbell Shrug podcast where you basically handled Jim Windler is what it seemed like.
Oh God, I did.
It was at the Arnold. You guys are in this shitty hotel gym.
It wasn't too shitty. It was actually a pretty fun podcast environment because it was a top floor of one of the hotels, and so you had a decent view, 360 from this whole floor is what it felt like.
Okay,
basically. Or
was that at the Drury that's connected?
Couldn't tell you.
Gotcha.
It's definitely not connected to the hotel.
Okay,
it was down the street a little bit, but yeah, I definitely wrangled Windler over there to do that.
Mm-hmm. So that was
showed up pretty lit.
Yeah, so that was the first time. I believe that was my first experience with you was through Barbell Shrugged. Really, Barbell Shrugged just really got me into all the people that I really ever got into. Travis Mash, learned an unbelievable amount from his content, working with him as a coach and stuff like that. That came from listening to Barbell Shrugged back in the day, and just I started branching out. I think you've done a couple episodes with Travis. So I think that's probably where it was. That's where I kind of fell into your universe and saw something, I don't know what.
Yeah, and so roughly year and a half ago, give or take, right? Is that about the time you're getting ready for a Highland Games and hit me up? And I went over to the gym to train with you.
Yep. Yeah, we were just throwing some sheaf.
Stuff like that. Used my pitchfork.
Yep.
Where is that? Do you still have it? Or is it at the gym?
If I still have it, then me and my wife had quite the miscommunication where we thought where I definitely thought that she ran it to 9 for 9.
Then it may be there. It's not exactly something I've kept high fucking track of. I should have it hanging, goddammit.
Fair play. Well,
should have a gnarly pitchfork on the wall right here, Brant. That's an interesting podcast treasure.
If it's my fault, I will get that rectified shortly.
We'll figure it out.
I mean, I'll be around.
It hasn't exactly been critical.
Correct. Obviously, there's not been the point.
I'm not going to put a lot of weight on it. Anyway, help you work on sheaf, and then the next time I run into you, you don't have a leg.
Correct. Well, I had one.
Well, yes, you're missing the other one, and so why don't you catch people up to speed on that?
All right. Trying to tell the long story short.
There's no reason to try. You can just fucking tell it, man. Let it rip.
At 19, I decided to join the military. I was at the University of Missouri, just a couple hours up the road. Nothing wrong with it. I started to get the sense that I wasn't working towards anything that mattered to me. I was in a very, very immature, not quite understanding the world way, I still had come to the conclusion where I'm I don't think that this degree is going to create the life I want. My brother then had just gotten back from his second deployment, infantry in the Army, and I went to see him when he came home. The first, when they got to the States, they got off the plane, went and saw him then. And it was just real obvious to me. I was I should be on the other side of this line. So that's what that decision put everything else into motion that you are even remotely interested in at this point.
So I'll stop you right there then. So that call to the military, is it a big, xenophobic call to the military? Like, do
No.
this for my country? Okay. I would just love to hear, because this is the never have I looked at the military and thought, like, sick. I'm super glad people do it.
I know I've never been like the America guy. I own 0 pairs of American flag silkies. Okay. I apologize to anyone that
How
thinks.
dare you, sir?
If that makes me a bad vet, then I'm the fucking worst. But no, it was a combination of, okay, I like the physical mental combination in the challenge. I was so bored in college without anything physical going on. In terms of like, what am I working towards? And so there's a lot of that. There was a lot of like me looking, I think that was a lot of what had my eyes open and looking elsewhere in general. And then there was the combination of, my brother's done 2 tours over there, and I know it doesn't work like this. I was like, you know what? It's my turn. There was an element of that. And there was also just an element of responsibility I felt, because I believed that I could do a special operations job. Like I knew like I wasn't going to just join. Like I'm going to leave school. I'm not going to just join. I'm not going to be in to be in. I'm going to be in because I'm going to do a job that I believe gets a lot of work done. And so I was like, special operations is where I wanted to go. To me, I felt like, all right, I'm 19. I feel very confident that I have the ability to pull this off. Obviously, something needs to change. I was a tiny, like I'm talking 150-pound version of
hell yeah
of my like freshman year of high school, 4'11", 95 pounds.
This is better going into boot camp than looking like me out of high school.
Well, I didn't. Well, I went in at 185.
Okay, so you put on some size getting ready for it.
Yes.
You put on size. See, I just expect to run a lot.
I needed to be able to handle a ruck. They're like, I needed a back. I needed a back. I needed a back. I needed a posterior chain. I didn't know that, but I knew that I was more mentally there than I was physically.
Got it.
So like I said, so just that combination just all added up to, yeah, sounds like the right answer. Sounds like the right answer. At the very least, a good place to go find the right answer.
All right, and then get you back on track. So you're now in.
Yeah. So I went straight to selection. I ended up joining the Air Force for a career field called combat control. Not very many people have heard of it. A lot of people have heard of PJs. They're like the search and rescue side of that, best at what they do in the world. The best thing I've got for combat control to explain is like, you ever seen Transformers?
I have.
So, you know, Tyrese?
Yes.
Tyrese is a combat controller.
Okay. Got it.
I happened to be active duty when that kid, like we literally had Jodies about Tyrese and shit. No. Like it was ridiculous.
Wait, what are Jodies?
So like, well, there's 2 forms of the word Jody in military. One of them is a guy that sleeps with your girl whenever you're on deployment.
He's not a friend. He's not just helping you out.
Jody's not your buddy.
Keeping the engine. You don't want to leave a truck idle too long is what I say.
Yeah, Jody is not the friend. But it's like cadence. Like you ever see like the military movie where they're running and they're singing in like a cadence?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They would make us do that just because to add another level of things we had to take care of, because we had a very mentally demanding job on top of the physical side of things. So I'm about a year into the pipeline. If you are perfectly healthy and your school dates line up, it's a 2-year pipeline. I was about a year in, and I was in Keesler, Mississippi at Air Traffic Control School, clipped a curb, came down on the outside of my foot.
Like running?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're running back from the pool. So I've got this little like awkward bag, about 20 pounds worth of like fins and mask and that sort of like awkward gear. And you know, it's just a part. This was a school that was a separator school. Like their goal is that not everyone's going to finish this, and we're going to make sure. Sure. Because as far as they're concerned, we're picking. They are just selecting the teammates for their friends that are still active duty and doing their thing. I always love that element of it.
Yeah, I always dug that too. I remember having that explained one time, about the 2 schools and kind of the difference. When people talk about SEAL training or doing buds for CrossFit, he's like, you understand the buds thing is hard for deselection. We want people to quit. Yes. Having a high rate of quit is what we're looking for. So we're pushing it to the limit that happens so that they don't quit out there. Like you can't sell that program.
Your training has to be harder.
Yes.
Yeah, like I fractured my femur in selection.
Okay.
Like I fractured my femur in selection, healed that up, and then got it back into my other schools, airborne and survival.
How'd you fracture your femur?
I'm not entirely certain. Those first few days are just such a blur. Like it's so fast.
Know?
I just know that I woke up on day 4 and things were not good.
So you think from just running load and just maybe stress fracture type thing? But
there was an impact somewhere.
Okay.
Like I don't know. Obviously, the injury itself wasn't that traumatic. It was just something I dealt with.
Just hit it the wrong. It happens.
It happens. So healthy back in. I'm at air traffic control school. We hit that. Like I said, foot hits that curb, heel rolls over. In my infinite wisdom and mindset there, I'm like, we're here to fucking go. We're not here to stop. So I get up. Like, it was one of those things. Like, I look back at it. Like, if somebody went down, like on a run, like they fell, they tripped, whatever, you would immediately hear the cadre going, "Get up, get up." The cadre stopped. They didn't tell me to get up. I just did. That should have been my sign that it looked real bad.
Oof. Okay.
Like that, or at least that's how I remember it. And then I just remember this almost as though there was a metal rod jammed from my knee to my ankle, and just a warming sensation just radiated out from the very middle of that limb. And I was never out of pain after that.
Oh, gross.
So there was like a sprain, like stuff was jacked up.
You didn't break it.
I did.
Okay.
Not bad though. That was like the least of my worries.
Right.
Tendons and ligament stuff was a way bigger issue. Like there was probably more damage to that, but they focused on the fact that there was fractures in the fib. And then the nerve damage thing is not something that they can just identify right away.
Sure.
So I eventually ended up getting sent out of that school. Went back. We did therapy. I did ankle sprain therapy for 6 months. No progress. And I instead of them thinking, "Hey, what are we doing wrong?" they accused me of not trying and trying to get out. And I was like, "No, I don't want to get out." I was like, "I chose to be here. I could be at school. Like,
right.
Like I could be at Mizzou, none of the better party schools in the area. Like, I could be there. I chose and so I eventually did end up getting that diagnosis of complex regional pain syndrome, which unfortunately I'm not like, some people they get a diagnosis and they feel a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Because at least then we've named the boogeyman.
Correct. Didn't know.
Nothing at all.
No. The woman just goes, "Oh, so you've already started your med board." And I'm here thinking, no, I'm getting back into training. Med board is getting medically retired.
Oh, man.
And this is they're like, "This is the most clear-cut case of complex regional pain syndrome I've ever seen." I was like, I don't think that's good. There's just not a lot of, fortunately or unfortunately though, there's just not a lot of information, especially at the time. So I went and tried to do research, and I didn't really learn a whole lot other than shit might get bad. And whatever you can get done in the first 12 to 18 months is probably about as good as it's ever going to get. Never got better. Fast forward, to fast forward the story, this happened September 6th of 2011. I never stopped doing stuff, but things continued to get stripped away. It started with, I couldn't deal with impact. So running and jumping was an issue. And then it became an issue to even come off a pull-up bar in a CrossFit, setting, or
just any impact.
And then it became any prolonged effort. And, it just kept at that point, it was around 2016, 17-ish. CrossFit, as I wanted to do it, was no longer there.
Right.
So moved on. I was like, I'm going to keep learning. I'm coaching. At this point, I'm coaching as a profession. I've gotten into Olympic weightlifting. Same sort of thing happened. The deterioration of the condition just kept getting worse. The function was starting to become an issue. I don't know why I went to Highland Games after that. I was like, I'm just going to try something different. Like,
yeah, of course.
I knew it wouldn't be easier.
Yeah, you're just trying something else.
I just want to
maybe it works.
You know what? I can get a lot better at this.
Yeah, it's not heavy. It's not going to be.
And I was like, maybe this will just be very different, and that might attack it from a different angle, and we might fill in a weakness that could help.
Yeah, well, we also can't stop.
Yeah, and that's the other thing at that point,
desperate, dude.
The thing that I had observed in the community of people with this condition with CRPS is the people that leaned into their diagnosis did not do well, and it's not one that you got to make the right decision from the beginning. There's not a lot of makeup time, on a 400-meter race. If your pace is off at the beginning, there's not a lot of recovering it, right?
Okay.
It's kind of like that. Like, there's not a lot of once you put yourself down that hole, it's way harder to climb back up. So for me, it was a little bit of a Sisyphus sort of deal where I was like, you know what? If I'm pushing the rock, at least it's not going backwards.
Sure.
Like, for me, I wasn't rolling the rock uphill, but I was fighting like hell to not let it roll backwards as much as possible. Now it kept happening. and kept happening. And 9 years of that kept happening. And Christmas, let's see, my surgery, so December 25th, 2019, well, 26th was the day I decided that the amputation had to happen. Nothing related to actually Christmas. It's just things got really dark that night. It was just so much pain, and I started to hit a breaking point, and I considered doing things that I'm glad I didn't do. Almost did, and at that point, it was like, I got to go. Like, this has to happen. It is a non-negotiable now. This is something my wife and I had conversations on in the past, like in the last year. Like, we had kind of waited out, and that was the sign. That was the, you have to do this. Like, it's not a choice. Like, I never even saw it. Like, if you want progress, if you want to live the life you want, if you want your wife to get the life that she deserves, like, I will never understand why she started a relationship with me when she did. I'll never understand why she wanted to marry me. Like, I was in such a bad spot and only getting worse. She's also why nothing happened that night.
Yeah.
Like, so I was like, you know what? It's got to go. There's no more decision to make. And I was, at that point, I was pretty calm and comfortable with it. There was still a couple months of work with like I got right into therapy because I wanted to prove to the surgeons and whatever I could prove, like, hey, I'm coming at sound mind, well-reasoned decision.
This is a choice.
Yeah, exactly. This is not a reaction. I'm responding, and I'm making the choice to move forward. They did not like that.
Okay, so you've made this decision you said this is December, right? So now you're going to start like going through that process. Yeah. So what do you do? Do you call your osteo? Do you
call my general care provider through the VA? And I was like,
oh, and you're doing this all through the VA.
Yes, this was the big issue.
Okay.
And I told her, I was like, this is what's been going on. I know you haven't had me as a patient for very long, but this has been going on for a very long time. I've tried everything. I would like to move forward. I would like a consult for an amputation. She couldn't talk to me. Like, this is on the phone, because I don't know why it was on the phone, but that's what I had to do. The system will never make sense to me. So I've continued, or I have ceased trying to sit there and be like, and to trying to understand that line of logic. So she was not a fan. She had no business making a judgment call on it at all. But
and she said no.
But she tried to. And then I was like, you don't have that choice to deny me this referral. So I got a referral. The surgeon walks in, looks me dead in the eye, and goes, you're going to fail if you do this. And like is listing off all these reasons why I'm going to fail. He's read my name on the file. Like, this was the start of a surgical consult.
I have such a hard time with it, right? Chronic pain, dealing with it, and the idea that you're not allowed to choose to do something to you to get out of it. Oh, man, I really, really struggle with that. Like, that's freedom. Like, that's the freedom to manage my body how I see fit. I don't understand why someone else gets a vote. And especially, you know, I don't want you to be able to walk in and fucking remove parts by pointing at a board with a price tag on it. But why don't we start from a more empathetic place and try to, like, what's the end game this guy's going for?
Exactly. Like, why are you asking for this?
Yeah, what's the win here that we're not seeing? What's the scam?
Well, the phrase they kept going is like, well, you're perfectly healthy. I was like, you sure about that, bud? Like, you sure I'm perfectly healthy?
Well, there's no way to fucking measure it.
Well, but we had actually measured nerve damage at this point. Like, there was no question as to whether or not I had an issue.
So it's measurable.
The question was that they were not interested in my solution because it's still considered a controversial solution to the condition, because the reality is, and I knew all this going in, I could wake up from that surgery and feel nothing different.
Sure. And
like it's nerves.
Right. And so, like, is that HIPAA issues that like start getting involved because of cause no pain or any of that?
No. That it was like,
I'm sure it's moral conundrum for surgery. Like that, it's a lot to be asked. So right?
They view amputation as a failure.
Okay.
And part of me is like, are you sure? Because getting out of pain is my goal. So success at that is the only thing that matters. And 2, are you sure you didn't fail? You've had 9 years to help me with this. I think it's okay to say that you weren't successful.
Sure, if we continue forward,
exactly,
we have a chance of not failure.
Correct.
Currently,
I mean, we're talking
fucked.
I've had years where I'm using a walking aid at this point. I'm coaching CrossFit, I am lifting, I'm throwing, but walking around all day is just absolute hell. Every step is terrible. And I was at the point that I'm using a forearm crutch to get around all day. And they're still using the phrase perfectly healthy 30-year-old. Perfectly healthy. I'm like, what? I was like, how bad are you at what health is? So they called me perfect. I was like, I understand that I have a lot of health markers that are good. You know why? Because I work my ass off for it because I've had to. So what happens whenever we remove the pain and I've got all these things going for me? Things get to move forward.
So how did you manage? I mean, dude, I went through a very, very different window of chronic pain, and it was whatever it is. It's not like there's a way to say one equals.
It doesn't matter.
One doesn't have anything to do with the other. It was fucking really, really fucking gross, and I can't believe I got out of it. I'm sure you feel that way. How soon, once you did the amputation, was it gone?
When I woke up from surgery.
First time it's been off
in 9 years. Literally, this is one of the funniest, coolest, little bit of parallels if that stuff interests you. My surgery date was August 26th. Mine and my wife's first date was August 26th.
Nice.
My injury date was September 6th, 2011. I went home from the hospital September 5th, 2020. Literally almost 9 years to the day. Almost 9 years to the day.
Dates are tricky. I don't know how much I believe in the importance of dates.
Again, it's just kind of a funny parallel, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I think it's a thing we decided, time,
exactly.
How we've labeled it and all those.
None of it matters, right?
Right. But no, it is interesting coincidence.
So, yeah, so literally almost exactly 9 years of no sleep, no pain, constant pain, and I woke up from surgery and it was gone. Wild. Just
what was it for you having it off?
Well, there was a lot of drugs.
Yeah, fuck. I bet you're on a shit ton of drugs.
Yeah.
I know.
I got the Gucci heroin.
I would imagine you're on a different thing than they did for my ACL.
Yeah, no, I was on the Gucci heroin.
Baller.
But yeah, so there's a little bit of disorientation of that, and that was actually my first surgery. I think I had tonsils removed when I was 2 or something like that. But I literally never my first surgery of my life was going in that I ever was a part of was getting my amputate. Was a 9-hour amputation.
All right. Well, one and done, dude.
Yeah, exactly right.
They're never going to be worse than that.
Correct.
So anything else that comes up, just would be it's fine. We're going.
Yeah, fuck it.
It's not a big deal.
You act like I haven't dealt with worse, right?
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, no. Really, the thing that I noticed though first was one. It was just oh fuck yeah, fuck yes, this is cool. But my brain was everywhere. My brain, so much real estate between my ears had gone and been devoted to dealing with not just some pain, not that's the pain. I was regularly and go to the hospital pain. That was a weekly occurrence for me.
So how are you managing it? Is it opiates? Is it nerve block? Even nerve block work? Or
nope,
anything?
nerve block failed every time.
Oh man,
had a few of those done. Nerve block failed every time to do anything for pain. It was really I never was able to really get rid of pain. The cold immersion stuff would help with when it was really overloaded, it would kind of help me reset the system, but
sure.
The pain didn't go away. Cannabis was a big deal for me.
I mean, so what pain range are we staying in? Is it basically
4 to 10?
Always a 4 to a 10.
I don't remember the last time I was below a 4.
Sure.
So a 4 would be a really good day.
Yeah. Good day would be a 4.
Anytime.
Totally.
If I got to spend any time at 4 or 5, that was a plus. That was actually in the plus column.
But you did feel at least a bit in control of between 4 and 10. You could get it back down.
Sometimes.
Okay. Would it raise up due to no reason or
sometimes.
Things you're doing?
Oh no, there'd be times I would just be sitting there and it would just go. And it literally just felt like this was happening to my shin. If it would just I literally felt that sensation multiple times in my life. It's not good.
So you're in pain whether you're choosing to train through this or not.
That was why I was like, fuck this. I'm not going to not train. At least I enjoy that. It's all going to hurt anyway.
It's tough, dude.
Like cannabis helped me care less about it. Like it allowed me to observe the pain versus it allowed me just to be like, fuck, this really hurts versus like being like completely dead.
So you're walking around with a cane. So like, how does like lifting work, right? Like, do you have neuropathy? Like, is there any musculature that doesn't want to move or?
That happened. That was a part of like the deterioration. Like it wasn't day one, but the day it came off, like I couldn't move my toes. Like if I was trying to move my toes, like do this with my toes.
Oh, all right. So you're slowly starting to lose
all of it. Yeah, exactly. Like, and they're like, well, you could end up in a wheelchair. Some people that get this amputation, they can't ever get a prosthetic on. I was
cool.
Like,
I'm out of pain.
I was like, you want to know where I'm headed right now?
I know.
A fucking wheelchair. I'm a perfectly healthy 30-year-old, remember? And I have to use a crutch to get around. Tell me that's not where the story goes.
I know.
Assuming I even make it that long.
Right.
Like there with complex regional pain syndrome, there is a very high percentage of correlation to substance abuse and all the things that go with that, which makes it even harder for people to get treatment and pain and taken serious.
Opiates didn't do anything to touch it.
No. So my first 15 months, I was basically forced to take Ultram, or like Tramadol.
Yeah.
You know,
it's great stuff.
When I first got on, so it was kind of new to the market, and it was given to all these doctors as a synthetic, non-addictive opiate.
Yes,
because that works.
Yeah, we keep finding those.
Yeah, exactly, right? In nature.
Yeah, that's where they come.
Keep growing on trees.
Non-addictive opiates.
It didn't really help. I mean, honestly, I would get more by taking an edge off by putting a lip in.
Okay.
You know, but when I wanted to not take it, I basically would get hit with this. Oh, so you're not in that much pain, or I literally at one point got hit with like the old school, like this is an order from a superior officer bullshit over fucking opiates.
Like you have to take it.
Yeah. Like I'll piss test you if I need to make sure that you're going to piss hot. Like
it's a real interesting thing, right? Because am I wrong in the assumption that a bit of the military is you've signed over your ability to think for you to someone else for a period of time?
At some level. I mean, I
mean, because I would disagreeing for the sake of disagreeing seems to be
discouraged
and punishable.
Yes. No, they want you. They want good soldiers, like plain and simple. They want people that want to just say yes. My viewpoint is that's why the military stopped studying psychedelics, is they realized that it did the opposite.
It does the opposite.
It did not create good soldiers. It created fucking thinkers.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, we can't have that in this.
Which is why I believe it's one of the banned substances.
Yes.
It's like it's not valuable.
No, what book was I listening to? They were talking about it, and
Terrence McKenna.
Is it Food of Life?
Food of the Gods.
Food of the Gods, yeah. Yep. So yeah, he was talking about it in there. He's like, and then all of a sudden the military testing stopped and it became a Schedule I drug. He's like, and there was zero evidence ever presented for either side of the coin.
So with that, I mean, through your years of dealing with the pain, like I know for me, man, I just went down every rabbit hole I could.
Mm-hmm.
What started with cannabis, and I found relief there for whatever reason. What was your journey there? Did you try psychedelics? Did you try anything else? Or?
I didn't. Honestly, I was really late to the game on cannabis. I was almost 29 the first time.
All right.
I smoked like in high school. It just wasn't something that interested me. Like,
yeah.
Like the way that people would describe it, I'd be like, that doesn't really sound like a great time. And then in college, it was the same thing. And then I never really thought about going back to it. And I didn't. And by the time that I got into all these issues, I didn't really understand it. And I didn't know anybody that was using it as a tool.
That's super.
Like I didn't know of anybody that thought of it like that. And that's why it didn't resonate with me, I think. And then I had a couple of good friends that were like, hey, man, this is because I care about you. I really think you need to try cannabis. I think you need to try smoking weed. Like, he's like, I'm not saying it's going to make
turning into a hippie.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, right.
How fucking dare you?
Yeah. But no, I was really lucky to have a few people in my corner. My wife included. She was like, I just didn't know how to suggest it to you.
Right. What an interesting thing, right? Like that.
Because like, again, like the social side of it is not, this is a tool.
No, it hasn't been.
But to me, it's the only way that I understand it. Like, because that's the filter that I like to go through. what is like, is this useful? Like, and how do I use this versus like, because if the other one to me, and again, everybody's different. So other people can be more recreational with it and be just fine. I don't think I do well with that. I think that, again, I like to have clear, defined, that's what makes me feel comfortable. That's what makes me feel confident about what I'm doing. You know, when I was, like I said, I'm a head coach at a CrossFit gym. My job is public speaking.
Sure. And
has been for the better part of the last decade. I don't remember how many times in high school and grade school I was told, make sure you never get a job with public speaking. Like, I was so discouraged. Like, I was so bad at it. And I found that, like, my crux of confidence to be able to deliver on a group class was knowledge. So, like, I learned that really early on. Like, that's why I got so into Travis Mash's podcast and Barbell Shrug. That's why those things were such a draw to me, is I was getting information to feel better, and that would make me more confident. And I had an easier time getting in front of the room, and go figure, get more reps and get better. It was that simple. So then I just started to try to apply that to more and more. And I just didn't have anybody helping me understand it in that manner until I did.
Sure.
And then when I did, you know, I didn't have that whole, it wasn't like the scene in Half Baked or anything like that. No, it was just me being kind of fucking awkward in my house by myself. Like, am I doing it right? Am I high right?
Am I doing weed right?
God
damn it, dude.
I right
fucking
kind of high?
Remember that.
Like, am I the right kind of high? Like,
I remember that weirdness, dude. Because I remember when I first got into it and I was starting to smoke, and I didn't understand, like, did I need a grinder? I didn't understand any fucking part of weed culture other than...
How old were you?
Probably about your window too, but like probably 28, 29.
Okay, same.
Yeah. And so, dude.
Do you ever have to buy weed from a high school kid?
No. No, I didn't get into weed until way after 30. Way after 30, because it really wasn't until my knee went to shit. That was like 34.
Okay.
Or whatever. Fucking whatever. 32, somewhere in that window at this point. It's a bit of a blur.
I don't know why.
Maybe that adds up. It's a blur since I got into the weed. Shit.
The math checks out.
But man, I got into it and, you know, started with edibles that made pretty, I guess, more sense to me. And man, we're making them at home, like just baking brownies, and it's fucking crazy potent brownies. I do remember that. It's sledgehammers we'd made on accident.
I've overdone edibles one time.
Yeah, well, I woke up.
Do not recommend.
We were in the living room watching some movie with some friends and neighbors and shit over, and at some point I woke up and the room looked like we'd been gassed. Just fucking everyone in the place is just unconscious in their space, like still drinks in hand. I'm like, somebody come in here and just like hit a fucking switch and run out.
Oh,
incredible!
It's like the old scene in the movie where they put the gas in the vents and like the whole room just fucking passes out.
Yeah, dude, that's exactly what this room looked like. And so we maybe had gone a little hard early in that game, but it was one of the first things for me that started changing my perception of how I felt. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
I definitely had that, because it was more about, it didn't relieve pain, but it did help me get to a place where I could perceive it differently. I ended up surviving a little bit on the mantra of, I'm not in pain, I'm experiencing pain, and experiences end. Like that one became a big reset in my brain. Like, again, it allowed me to step back and observe versus like having to deal with I'm in the thick of it, which I am, but I don't. But the reality is, it's also not physically real, so I can fight it however I want to in here, and that became like a big piece of, like, I believe cannabis helped me get there for sure. The ability to think like that. And
it's interesting, right? You and I, the way I hear you talking about it, we have very different pains. Like, mine was a full mechanical, just the machine was broken pain. And you're having this nerve pain, which to me, with machine references that work for me, is essentially like an electrical fire.
Yes. I was going to say like a virus in the computer or something like that.
Yeah, you just have an electrical system issue, whereas I have gears that are broken, right?
And there's a physicality of it that at least helps you understand. Like, you can understand it. Like, you're
for sure.
For me, it just didn't fucking matter. Like, I could do everything right and find myself curled up in a ball in an hour.
Right, and that's why there's a point where cutting my leg off seems the way to go. And I know that's so extreme for people. That's such a big action to take, to choose to live.
Mm-hmm. That's the crazy part, right? Because like that's how I saw it. Like I'm just saying yes to. I am choosing to take the next step forward. And where like for example, like somebody's listening to this, they're gonna get this whole story at once, and then it's like fuck.
Sure.
I experienced and observed every second of it. I was there for all 9 years. I was there. I didn't just read. I don't just have the data. I was the person to receive the data, like every ounce of it, and then I had to suss through it. So to me, like the amputation, it didn't feel like a big deal because I'd done my work. Like I'd done the work to get there. Basically, I earned my way to my amputation, and I earned my way to and that's why I'm able to do what I'm doing now. Is because I never stopped. I never stopped moving. I never stopped learning. I just kept trying new training modalities. I got real big into sandbags for a little bit and different stuff like, different things like that has served me unbelievably well, that I don't know that that's a path that I go down without the necessity.
Sure. Right. Having time to play.
Yes. And just the flat out decision to not stop. Like that's the more important decision. Not what does this squat look like? In terms of, that's not a barbell squat. There's lots of fucking ways to get strong.
It's a lot of ways to get
strong.
And
I will say,
man.
There was a point where Tom had me pulling in the off season. It was regular. I was pulling 500 plus a week. Like
Tom Stroka.
Yeah, Tom Stroka. He's been my coach for the last few years.
Great guy.
Yes, absolutely
legendary.
One of my, I'm very fortunate to have him in my corner for sure. And there was an off season for my first off season for throwing. I'm pulling 500 on a regular basis. 550 against bands was my best. Sumo and conventional.
Fuck yeah.
Kind of, first time I'm truly entering
and
strong.
Doing this while your leg.
I'm on a cane. I'm on a cane. Yeah.
Okay.
Like that 500-pound squat I showed you. I walked in on a cane that day.
Fuck. Dude.
I walked into the gym on a cane that day and did curls with my wife afterwards, just fucking around.
Dude, I look now at some of the lifts I even did in the surgery window.
Mm-hmm.
Once things had started, I still went and hit a 500-pound squat more than once on days that were good.
Yep.
I
remember a couple of these.
Why the fuck did I do that?
I mean, for me, I just did it once.
Yeah, right on. The fuck
again,
on, man.
Like at 14, I was 4'11", 95 pounds. Not something I was ever supposed to be able to do.
Sure.
Much less on a bum leg. But I will say that the strongest I've ever been was the point where I could pick a 300-pound sandbag off the ground. That's
fucking strong, man.
Yeah,
there's no way around that. I don't give a fuck. That's not a thing normal folks can ever do. Normal people can't pick up 300 pounds in a way that it's really easy to pick it up, which would be like a trap bar deadlift. Mm-hmm. And so much less wrestling this goddamn bag.
Super just wants to be on the ground.
Yes,
that's weird.
It just really wants to be on the ground. It's very, very interested in staying against the earth.
It loves the concrete.
Yeah, sandbags, dude. Big, heavy sandbags are way worse than Atlas stones, because Atlas stones, at least you've got tacky and stuff, and good tacky on a good stone is basically it's got a handle.
Okay, so I've never gotten that deep into strongman. I've used a lot of the modalities. Got a lot of really good friends with it. Tom's fucking killing it in strongman right now.
Is he?
Dude, yeah. Fucking already got his old lady's already got a pro card.
God damn it. All right.
Go
get him, fucking Tom Sroka.
Yeah, Mary and Tom are fucking both, they're both kick-ass.
I need to get Tom on the show. I need to get his ass down here. He's not that far out.
No, he's up in Chicago.
He's just busy.
And he's the only other person that owns a pair of these.
Ooh,
yeah, I got him a pair as a gift.
They go totally with the color scheme.
Both of our, they're both of our,
they're
both of our companies.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Colors. I'm also a St. Louis Blues fan. It's also just generally speaking, it just worked. But it was cool. I got him a pair as a gift because, like I said, dude's just been in my corner, man.
Tom's a G.
He's done more than just program for me.
Yeah, he's one of the original dudes hate sponsored, when we first kicked off.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And
I've competed against Tom, when we both did games together. Yeah.
Oh shit.
We threw together at an amateur world championship. And one of the fucking coolest things I saw happen there was, Tom, I'm sorry, but I'm fairly certain Tom flipped a caber.
That makes sense.
Near us, and it took a wonky fucking turn. And so now we're all bailing all of our shit and our bags out of the way. and the caber ends up landing on somebody's spray tacky. So like with the Highland Games tacky, we use it on our hands, but we'll use carpet adhesive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so traveling with this carpet adhesive, one of them's laying on the ground, so this
Always.
fucking caber hits it, and it just sprays this mist of fucking sticky glue.
Yeah, like this stuff's
just
like
all over the side of
it's
like
not
three
a
or
little
four
bit
people's
yeah.
shit.
It's not a little bit tacky either. Like this stuff's like serious adhesive.
Oh no, your shit needs to
You're
be
talking about
burned.
the 77, right?
Yeah, you're not cleaning it.
Yeah, it's never coming off.
No, you just burn all your things.
I'm just imagining that quantity going on anything.
Tom's great.
You could put a tree back together with that shit.
Oh man, I don't.
You can
so
fix the
those
caber.
are definitely things I don't miss about competing in the Highland Games. Is like 3 days a week covering my hands in fucking tacky.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. I'm so glad I don't do that anymore. That's a really cool memory to not be doing.
I've not done it enough to.
Oh,
to
God,
I
it's so
haven't gotten to
fucking-
that phase.
Well, especially because I'm in Louisiana, right? And so
I was gonna say, it's probably more
so
necessary.
hot and humid.
So you're doing
You
it.
have to have tacky.
Yeah.
Well, for throwing the Scottish hammer, you have tacky on for a couple reasons. A, you want to be able to grip it, but I want to be able to grip it without squeezing it.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
So
that's the hardest part of the whole throw.
So I want to hold on to it as loose as I can. That way, my shoulders stay as long as possible to create the biggest orbit possible.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I'm tightening up on it, your biceps are pulling in and your hands get short. You've already lost 2 inches.
You've lost multiple feet in your throw.
Right, and so that's why.
Mm-hmm.
The stickier it is, that I can still let go of it, which is really fucking funny when that doesn't happen.
Oh, I love when a glove comes with it.
No. When you go with it.
Oh, okay.
I've seen people like on the 56 just not be able to get their hook grip off of it. It's fucking great. It'll shit whip you straight into the earth. It has no fucking interest in what direction you had planned going. It fucking, because it's like full throw and you're like, it's gone.
Yeah,
and it just fucking smashes your shit.
Like full Tom and Jerry.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say,
dude,
I was literally about to make that like old school, like cartoony, like for those that aren't familiar, I do believe that the 56-pound weight for distance is the worst fucking implement to have to deal with in all of strength sports.
Dude, Brent, look up a video for like a Olympic hammer fail. I'm sure we can't find a good Highland Games fail, but this Olympic hammer fail will give you an idea of like,
Yeah. Yes, it's the same scenario.
Things go from really good to what the fuck has happened to me so fast.
Oh, those are.
To the
Here,
untrained
here we
eye,
go.
it looks like everything's under control, and then it's just not.
Oh, it's exactly what it is. It just, you don't let go of it. And so like,
Oh no.
oh yeah, this will be, so this is the indoor weight.
Yes.
So this is 35 pounds. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that seemed pretty good.
That
Or
didn't
was
seem
the fail?
terrible.
Yeah, dude.
There it is.
Or other cool stuff happens. Like you'll be in the middle of one of these winds
Oh
and
my
the
God.
wire breaks.
Dude, I've seen that.
No.
And so
Dude.
it just shoots
Dude.
off unexpectedly.
That dude's right foot was just fucked from the beginning. Oh, Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
You can't win, dude. Oh no.
And the
Yeah.
and like the advantage they've got.
Dude, you're on the ground so fast.
Yeah. You don't.
You
even know
don't
what
have
happened.
fucking any clue
Oh,
what's
You
happening.
don't know
Oh,
what
yeah.
happened.
It's like that moment at the end of Snatch when they come out of the fight and the gunshot goes off and they all flinch. And
except
Brad
for
Pitt's
Brad
just
Pitt just
standing
like
there.
chilling.
What a great fucking scene. I would love to have heard how Guy Ritchie shot that. Like, I wonder if what they had planned and what they had not planned.
That right there is probably, if I gun to my head had to pick a favorite movie of all time.
Snatch is excellent.
Snatch is for Tarantino's style. Guy Ritchie is like a more catered to me version of it. Is how I feel.
That's fair.
Like, I feel like
I love the whole.
Like I feel like it's very influenced by Tarantino, like the way Snatch is like put together, but like it's just more my style. Like I can't. I've never been able to put a finger on it because I don't. This is nothing against Tarantino's work because I love his movies too. Inglourious Bastards is another one of my favorites.
Dude, yeah, they're great. They're both. One of them doesn't have to be better. They're both fucking. incredible.
Exactly. Like, but yeah, that Guy Ritchie's version of Tarantino is Sam's favorite
Well, like
kind
Lock,
of movie.
Stock is great too, and Guy Ritchie, it's his very own style too. I don't look at it as a Tarantino-esque.
Or I see the influence or the things that I like about both of them are the same. I like
They're
that. I like
super fucking stylized, and they give a shit about all of it.
I like the weaving in and out of storylines, and like I enjoy that part where it all kind of comes together, and it's not just blatantly obvious. I feel like it treats the viewer as they're a little smarter than they are.
Well, that's the beauty of it, right? They're both movie fans, and so they give a shit about telling a great story and making a great movie. They want that experience of watching this film to be exciting the whole time. They're not lost on maybe making the movie. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think there's something to the people that want to make a great movie for movie people and someone who's trying to make like an Oscar film.
Yeah. And then,
or even an Oscar film, right? Or art film. There's just various fucking versions of it.
Oh, absolutely. And
they're doing something very different than documentarians. So either way. Fuck, man. So now that you've gotten rid of the leg and you're back to rehabbing, how fucking cool is the technology? I know I'm not supposed to think it's fucking super sick, but you have a fucking cool robot leg.
No,
and I'd like to know what is going on there.
It is super cool. And I think that. I don't know why you shouldn't.
Yeah, you have fucking... It's like mountain bike parts, man. I'm fucking into it.
I am in a golden age of technology. It's unfortunate what was required to get there. But I get to benefit, right?
Hey man, 20 years down the road, they're gonna be super bummed about this thing.
It's gonna be the same thing. So, this foot in particular. So this is my everyday leg. This is what I walk around in. It has a carbon fiber foot that starts right around here. I've got a little foot shell. If you see that,
is it fleshy?
It looks like a Barbie foot, to be honest.
Yeah, but like, is it mushy?
No, it's just hard plastic.
Hey,
okay, it's
Sam,
hard
you
plastic.
want to move it like on the other side of the mic?
Oh.
Just like in front there.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah,
nice.
cool. There you go.
Yeah,
But
fucking gander this thing. I should just pass this bastard over.
Yeah, they're just
all right. It's heavier than I expected it to be.
Yeah, it's also got a shoe on and stuff like that.
Well,
so,
sure, but I don't think the shoe's the bulk of the fucking weight, man.
It is. You'd be like it. So the foot itself is carbon fiber. So like it's got the foot at the bottom, and then it comes into this like C shape. You see like the front.
Yep.
You can see. And so as I put pressure into that C compresses, and then as I release, I get like some level of like propulsion, or I don't know what the technical term is. So if that was completely wrong, I don't apologize. I don't apologize.
I
but
can't
I
tell you
acknowledge.
anything other. Oh, it's from Osser.
Yeah.
Yo, I had a
so they're Icelandic company.
I got parts from them. I've driven by their office numerous times.
I'm telling them, I said hey and thank you. So you can see like the carbon fiber in here. So like that's what comes down into that C. And then what you see this little deal right here. See this little bit?
Yep.
So that's a vacuum pump. So what that is so then that's an attachment that goes into that C so that every time I step, it compresses that vacuum.
Okay.
Which pulls air through this hose.
Sure.
And that's what creates my suspension. That's how it stays connected to me. Is it creates the suspension sleeve rolled all the way up, creates a skin tight and airtight seal on the top end. This hose takes care of pulling all the air out, and it creates as much of a one-to-one.
So it's like sticking it to you.
In a sense, yeah.
Okay.
Through vacuum suction.
Okay. Got it.
So
that's like what is actually attaching it to your leg.
Correct. That's what keeps it. That's why I don't worry about it falling off.
This hose is what keeps it attached to your leg. Got it. All right.
So like if this was undone, I would have no vacuum suction and I would just be held on by the sleeve.
And how well does just the sleeve do a job?
It'll hurt a lot. Like
I'll
get pressure.
Fully fucking notice a huge difference between those
it's a big
things.
difference.
Okay.
Because I'll just be pushing into the socket. The way it actually ends up working is like I'm not like leaning into anything. Like the fit is very precise. Like it is very, very, very
So
precise.
it doesn't feel like gravity on the bottom of your nub.
No.
It would.
It could.
Got it.
It could. It doesn't.
Also, it's fucking
nub is cool.
Nub is cool.
Nub's
I don't know
cool.
what's
Nub,
proper
stump.
here. Stump.
Like that's not wrong.
Yeah, how gnarly did your stump get when you got it all cut off, like in the healing process?
To be honest, it wasn't that bad.
Come on.
I can show you pictures.
All right.
Like they So again, this was part of my advantage. So again, for all the bad shit, I choose to look at like I've got a ton of things I'm super fortunate on.
Yeah.
The surgeon that I ended up with, probably the best surgeon in the whole country to have done mine.
Fuck yeah.
Happens to be a passion project of his. I may have one of the most sophisticated amputations.
Did he passion project pro bono it?
Well, in the terms of like send the bill to to Uncle
the
Sam.
VA?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. I'm happy my tax dollars pay for your fucking everything you got going on.
Well, you'd hate how the rest of it gets spent. So
I do. That's true. I'm very, very happy that whatever tiny percentage of my tax dollars pay for this this incredible fucking robot leg I get to look at.
So like,
fuck, it's cool.
So,
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, so I was elective, so I didn't come. Mine wasn't traumatic. So like with a lot of amputees, there's other stuff going on, like Derek Carver.
Yeah, right.
Stuff shredded all the way up his leg.
So musculature and shit's already shot.
Is damaged, so there's other damage that can complicate things. I didn't have that going on. It was a nice clean cut. It was all planned out.
Oh man, best scenario.
Correct.
All time, right?
What I was telling the surgeon is like, I just want to do this on my own terms. I don't want this to happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want shit to just happen to me. I want this to be on my own terms. So by taking that approach and being proactive with the stuff I could control in that manner, set up my surgeon, who's already a plus performer in his field, to then go and work his magic. Like I got, again, just unbelievably fortunate to have had Dr. Felder for this one, because he did a surgery that most guys, not only would they not even know to do it, but the level in which he was able to perform it. Like, because of some of the stuff he did, I don't struggle bad with phantom pains. They're very minimal and minor.
Now, talk to me a little bit about that, because I remember you were talking to me here at Sunday service, and you were saying that he had done some unique stuff with the bottom of your leg.
Yeah. So,
Oh, sorry. One sec. Could you move the leg back over to where it was? Yeah. Thank you very much. No big deal.
It'll keep my attention.
tell you what, if you want, I can get you one of my old sockets. We can fucking get it all painted up, hate brand, and put it up there if you want.
I would just love to have a fucking fake leg on the wall. If you have an old socket that you want to have in here,
it would just be this portion.
Okay.
I've got like,
that's weird shit.
I've got like 6 of them. So,
why do you have that?
I gotta know, like, training and everything. How gnarly does that fucking suction boot get?
When it's operating correctly, it's not.
Like, not sweaty and just
cheesy
and
gross? Sweat's the problem.
Yeah.
So like, like for example, I got done with my session this morning training. And
well, fuck, you also just got done competing at Wodapalooza in Miami, which is like being
soggy
inside of a mouth.
It wasn't that hot though. It was 70s.
All right.
I got lucky. Everybody that was from Florida thought it was cold. Everybody that wasn't from Florida was like, fuck yes.
Yeah. All right. Sick.
No, my wife sat there and talked about how cold it was the whole time. My wife's from Brazil, so.
Nice.
Yeah. So 70s.
I think that's allowed to be nice, but that's great.
I mean, I guess it doesn't really mean anything.
It's a compliment either way.
Good job being born there, Doc.
Fuck yeah, dude. Brazil. That sounds
exotic
to me.
So sweat is something I'm kind of learning to deal with, and like it is definitely a factor in what's going on. I have to pay attention to, like, when we do this hike. There's going to be a couple times I'm going to have to just take everything off, dry it off, and put it back on. Got it. Okay. Because once that gets wet and it's a little swampy, that's whenever you can start getting skin issues. You know, just things
my
rub
concern
like that.
Is like
that.
How occasionally swampy does it get? And you're like, oof.
Yeah. So yesterday I went on a 1-hour walk, just straight through with the dog, and I was sweating, but it wasn't at a point where I would have needed to stop the hike.
Sure.
So my guess is I probably got a couple 2-3 hours before I'll have to do it.
Yeah.
Smarter to do it on the early end because it's easier to deal with. Again, like it's all about being proactive and being aware. It's all awareness, is what I'm learning for me. So like, as I'm learning to be aware of, like, notice things, I can prevent certain issues from happening.
Gotcha.
The other piece of it is I can communicate with my prosthetist better about
what's
happening, how to adjust. Like this first year, like I'm terrible at giving information. Because I don't know what any of it means. I don't have enough reps. I don't have enough experience to go out there and.
So you're always essentially modifying it.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's constant. If you are somebody that likes to tinker, get into prosthetics because it's what it is. It's a constant.
I don't know that. How do I do that? How do I get into prosthetics?
It's a school. It's education.
Okay.
It's engineering basically.
That's fucking cool though, man. So you have other legs? I
do have a couple others.
Let me hear about these other legs.
All right. So I've got a lifting leg that right now I don't have a good socket for it. Like the socket's just way too big. I just need to get it replaced. It's called a Biodapt VersaFoot 2. And this thing looks like some real robot shit. Like it's got a Fox shocks, like hydraulic in it.
Whoa.
I can set the PSI on it. And then there's 3 other knobs where I can control different elements of its responsiveness and what it does. I've not gotten this figured out. It's very difficult to like I'm just I've been trying to figure out where to start. Like my brain loves the scientific process.
Sure.
I remember
it's like tuning mountain bike forks and suspension.
I would imagine. Like I got told in like 7th grade by my science teacher, he's like, your grasp of the scientific process, how you wrote it up, how you designed your experiment, best in the class.
Sick.
I don't understand what happened in your experiment. So science may not be your thing, but the scientific process is. And he was right.
No.
So of all the things that I've been like
you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, I know,
Sam.
right? I know, right? I mean, I was one of the only guys that was ever like gave me something like that in school and wasn't just total insecure bullshit. Like, you know, he was right. Like science classes have never been my thing, but I love the scientific process. Like, I love Cal Dietz for this reason.
Sure.
Like, Cal trips my trigger in so many ways that like I just connect with, like, and I don't realize because of that. I view everything like that as well.
I hope at some point you cross paths.
Same. I hope at some point there's like a reason for him to talk to me. Like, I don't know what he would have to talk to me about.
Because he'd be interested in what you're doing.
Yep. So like
he would be interested in trying to figure out.
Like I've used his goat drill.
Yeah.
Like I've used his goat drill, and I actually have started putting that into. I've written a program for like amputees that are like just got their leg. Basically, I wrote the program of what I would do if I could take all my knowledge now and restart.
Wow.
If I had to restart. So I wrote a 12-week program for that. His goat drill's in my warm up every day because of the vestibular benefits of like learning how to disassociate from your device and use it as a leg instead of as a prosthetic.
Now, where are you coaching, doing all that?
So I'm in Belleville, Illinois, CrossFit Metro East. I've been coaching there for we're closing in on the first decade.
Wow.
Right yeah. On. So I've been the head coach there for a little bit and just been coaching there, and that's been an awesome ride. Great location. We've got just some awesome things happening there in the building. Couldn't be more happy to be able to be back at doing that at the speed that I want. Like, I coached so many years doing something I loved, feeling so miserable.
Just being near a thing you love, dude.
And now I get to do this thing that I love and not feel miserable. Like, dude, it's so cool.
I did it for a bit with the Highland Games, right? Like, I traveled and did some like emceeing of events and things like that, and it was fine because
that's kind of where I thought I was going to go.
And still the vibe was right, but like I had, being around it and not being able to do it,
it's not fun.
Fuck no. Like, I could root my friends on and shit like that, but like, there's still part of me that the whole time is just like, I'd rather be doing this. I fucking hate being on this side of the goddamn microphone.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking hate to say it, I find it fucking embarrassing. It fucking felt shitty to me.
You felt like did it feel like admitting a defeat in a sense? Like, did it feel like the opposite of a victory?
Well, look, I know sports run their course, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at some point it's time to go. And I never wanted to overstay my welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt a bit like I was.
Okay.
Whether or not that's justified, that's how I felt.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, you're not going to do a good job at it if that's how you feel in the first place.
Right. And look, I was doing it, dude. I needed some of the money from getting to announce, which still kind of kept me going to a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then B, I thought it kept me relative to be able to fucking promote my business
mm-hmm.
and do stuff like that. So, I mean, there were a lot of reasons to go, and I could always catch a podcast with a couple of the guys that I threw with or do something like that. So it really worked out to a benefit. It really, really did.
No, that was something.
The price of admission, though, for emceeing, like actually doing that job, was a thing I can do, a thing I don't enjoy doing.
Gotcha.
Not for the Highland Games. I'd very happily do it now for something else.
If it tripped your trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. No, I had a lot of conversations with myself about what's acceptable. What's the minimum acceptable standard? Like, what are you willing to accept in exchange for getting out of pain? And one of them was, maybe I'm never going to throw again. But there was a point, I talked to a handful of the guys, so the Midwest has probably got has a really good Highland Games vibe.
Right.
I think it's from the local level, it's really, really good with Ancient Athletics and what Merle and all those guys do. And so I was like, maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll MC those events because they don't really have an MC, but they have a ton of events. And maybe that could be my way to stay connected because I had fun throwing Highland games. And like, I feel like I could do it well. And on top of that, I'm like, what do I do all day? I explain very complicated movements very simply to people that don't have a background knowledge of it.
Yeah, that's basically.
So what does a good Highland Games MC need to do? Just that.
Basically.
So I was like, So I was like, maybe that's my Highland Games path. I had accepted that maybe I don't throw again. Maybe I don't do CrossFit again. And I knew that one was like, I felt confident I'd be able to, but I was like, maybe I don't want to. Maybe that fire is not going to be there.
How was that? How was that first time of like being able to address that? Maybe it won't be there. Like maybe you don't care.
I was in so much pain. Again, like I said, it was like, are you willing to trade that? Yes.
Yeah.
Like eventually the answer was yes. And then
same.
once I had made that answer, I was like, doesn't matter anymore. Like I already said that it was okay. I'm way past what I was willing to trade. Like I had acknowledged that maybe I was never going to be able to move in a manner that I felt comfortable getting in front of the room and instructing people that were paying money every month for high quality instruction. I was like, maybe that's something I'm just not going to be able to do. I'm going to coach coaches at that point. Like, and that's still something I enjoy doing. And it's something I really want to do in the future is work with coaches. Cause I feel like that's one of the best ways to get the ripple out there is to get that ripple effect is to impart what I've learned to other coaches, not just about movement, but about coaching the movements and connecting with people and getting people to care about the little things that, getting them to care about what their toes are doing in a squat. So I had really thought all that stuff out again, like, for CrossFit, I was like, maybe I won't feel comfortable. Maybe it's just never going to feel good at an Olympic lift again. In fact, that was one that I was like pretty confident. I was like, I'll never have to fuck with the snatch again.
Dude, I remember having those feelings of like, oh, so those are done. And like as I went through kind of, once I'd made the decision that I won't get back to Highland Games, I kind of had realized all these things that go with saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I can't, like for me to get back to Highland Games, I need to be able to sprint. I need to be able to jump. I need to be able to snatch. And I don't think I can do any of those things. And so that's one of those things. It gets me, right? And I mean, coming to terms with that was fucking really lame. Of like a second. So it's like I would have felt different if you told me the last time I did it was going to be the last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But unfortunately, that ain't how fucking anything works.
And well, with the slow burn that mine was, I kind of got a little bit of that. So like I had multiple phases of not dead yet. When I first got diagnosed, they're like, well, yeah, you're definitely never going into special operations. You can't be in the military. You're never going to play soccer again. Your CrossFit's done. You're never going to run again. And then when I got home and went back to my CrossFit gym over in Valley Park, Missouri, and I realized that I realized that at a certain point, it was my first open workout. When I did it and felt like I really did it. I didn't do it and I wasn't guarded. And I was like, oh shit, he's still there.
Yeah.
Like I had that and I'm like, okay, I've got a fucking chance now. And I was like, I'm going to clean 300. I'm going to squat 400. I'm going to deadlift 500. And I ended up doing those things. Some of them were I ended up actually squatting 5. And I went into the gym that day knowing this is probably the last time I'm ever going heavy on a back squat. I had that advantage.
Ride or die, motherfucker.
And I was like, I'm just want to do something I can be happy with.
Right.
That's why my heaviest squat of all time was not the heaviest squat I could do that day.
Nope.
Yeah, you see, I've shown it to you.
Yep.
Nope. I was a rocket ship out of the hole. That was a 40-pound PR.
Hell yeah.
60.
Hell yeah.
60 from 6 weeks prior. But like, I was like, no, I can be happy with the rest of my life knowing that I moved 500 pounds on my back like that. What does 520 do for me?
It doesn't.
Nothing.
That's the thing, right? Like
nothing. So like I got lucky to have that perspective because again, I had that slow burn and I had this kind of moment, getting ready for my surgery. I think it was while I was in, I had to quarantine because of COVID before my surgery. And I remember just sitting there thinking like, I really have nothing to be upset about. And when it comes to like the lifting in that world, I was like, I set out those goals and I fucking got to smash them. Like, and I did. I realized all of that. I wanted to clean 3. I ended up cleaning 330. I wanted to squat 4, squatted 5. I wanted to pull 5. I pulled 550 against a band.
Dude, what an incredible
Like,
mindset to have
so-
through that, though. To have the awareness of trying to check those things off the list of getting to.
And it was kind of an arbitrary list that I gave myself. This is 23, 24-year-old version of Sam getting,
of course.
I'm getting out of the military. For the first time in my life, I don't have like tons of responsibility for other people. I grew up, so I'm one of 12 kids.
Holy shit.
I'm the second oldest of 12 kids to be more specific.
You guys running a farm?
No. No, there's no good use like that. Your
parents get along really well, it seems?
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, no, I will say that the biggest fight I've ever seen my parents get into is naming.
Probably had 11 fucking kids involved in it.
Yeah, naming a kid. They don't agree on shit. They didn't agree. Like, they had such different styles. I was like, oh, well, I'm really glad we only did this 12 times.
Fuck, at some point I'd be like, your pick. I'll take the next 3, I suppose.
Yeah, just run the draft, right? Like, I remember
After 6, I can't imagine having 6 more fucking kids. What are the age gaps? Jesus Christ. How many Irish twins do we have?
None. There are no multiples.
Oh no.
That's yeah.
You know, just
that's
like
they're
knock
all-
2
I know,
kids
right?
out in 18 months. I think they're called. You're not allowed to say Irish twins.
Well, I mean, at least
fuck.
you can, you know.
I don't think you're not allowed to say it, but it's 12 months.
whatever.
It's 12 months.
God damn it,
The
it's
owner of my
funny.
gym
Yeah.
has a pair.
Yeah, right on. I know a handful of people
and a
who
vasectomy
are,
as a
and it's all
result.
great.
Well, I mean, at least you can knock 2 out in the hospital.
That's what
you
I'm
know,
saying.
at like
Listen,
a time.
That's
like,
my wife's goal. She's like, I would love to have 2 kids and get pregnant once.
Yeah, like that seems the optimal way to do it.
She's like, that's my wife is so determined for that. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know how you're gonna stack the deck in your favor. I was like,
I'm gonna be dead honest. As a man who has 0 interest in having kids, I can't think of any worse fucking news than twins. It just is worse news every time they tell me there's another one of those things in there. Fuck.
I that's like one of the only things though that doesn't exist in my family. There are no twins.
All right.
In fact, I don't know of any twins anywhere.
12 fucking kids. All right.
My little sister was conceived as a twin, and she like it was a resorb or whatever. That happens.
assumed it.
She ate her
Yeah.
twin,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Does she have any other superpowers that you've now figured out?
She has the strength of a baby and as a
Yes,
full-grown
exactly.
adult. No, this is how nice my family is. Like, she's been called a baby eater for a lot of my life.
Yeah.
I'm talking
Fuck
like
yeah.
she is
Solid.
Christian. I don't know why. If my little sister listens to this, I'll be blown away. She's a freshman at Mizzou right now.
We're trying to hit that demo.
Oh yeah, terrible,
Yeah, the
terrible.
19-year-old
Those are terrible people.
19-year-old female demo is who's listening to my podcast.
Well, you want to listen to
Jesus
you want to listen to two
Christ.
30-year-old dudes?
Let's just call that with Young Jeezy was on or something. I don't know, a rapper that young people would be into. Brant,
What?
line it up.
I don't-
Say we talked about it. A rapper.
I don't think that
Fuck, that sounds
Young
old.
Jeezy's old enough that he's just Jeezy now. I believe Young has been dropped from the moniker.
God, I realize how old I am when I want to make an age joke and they actually sound like shitty old dad jokes.
Or that just sounds like you're talking about the history of you've experienced in your life. This is just a fact of life.
Oh yeah, that's what happens when.
But like, yeah, no, my little sister's been called a baby eater by the family.
Wow.
We're really cool like that.
So you grew up in Belleville?
No, so I grew up a little bit south of here in Jefferson County.
Okay.
If you got on 55, you probably haven't gone down that way at all since you've been here.
I don't know.
I don't know why you would have.
Okay.
25 minutes south.
Okay.
On 55. Good spot. Nothing wrong with it. They had drug issues, but all small towns like that seem to.
Such is America, as they say.
Yeah, exactly, right?
That is the thing that we were into.
But no, where were we?
Fuck, man. So one of the things I want to touch back on. Well,
Yeah.
so yeah, what is the age gap?
Yeah, so
Youngest, oldest.
I don't know exactly. My older brother is, so like I said, I'm the second oldest. My older brother's 37.
Okay.
And then the youngest is in high school.
So like 16?
More than that. Because there's more than that between.
So like 30 years. No.
No, less than
15.
Flirting with 20.
Okay.
So
man, that's going for it.
I mean,
How do you fucking feed that many people?
Big batch cooking. Lot. We
What do your parents do for a living? I don't understand.
My mom stays at home. Well, my mom stays
Yes,
at home.
I
That's a
assume
necessity.
she has kids.
My dad's worked for Drury Inn hotels longer than I've been alive.
All right, so you guys are just stashed in rooms all over the place.
Unfortunately, no. The 2008 really ended that. The hotel industry has not been the same
Not
since
done
08. But yeah, I have no fucking clue, to be honest. It's one of those ones where it's like, man, it's a seriously impressive thing that my parents have done.
Yeah.
Like I've got no qualms about that.
I mean,
like
they also made all of you.
They arguably should have made far bigger mistakes. You know, nobody's perfect, so there's mistakes there somewhere.
12 fucking kids, man. I'm sorry. I just can't. I keep getting locked in. I keep thinking that, like, if I had a subscription service that a kid kept showing up every, like, 18 months, I would have stopped way fucking sooner than 12. And this was the thing. They just kept making more of them.
Suggesting you need to cancel your Gains box.
Yeah, 12 is fucking incredible. Well, fucking done, man.
Wouldn't trade it for shit. Like,
no, you guys
no question about it. Like,
did you guys get weird family stuff, like all growing up together, like you don't need any other friends?
No, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
I wouldn't say, honestly, like, I don't see any of the weirds. Like, we're oddly not that weird. Like,
not like secret languages.
No. Like, the media has portrayed being a big family as being aliens.
I'm just curious.
We're
just me
human
and my
beings.
brother.
Yeah,
and
like,
so like
it's just more of that. There's
Okay.
just more things going on. It's probably more similar to whenever you were at school.
all right on.
Like,
Just a lot of people around.
my parents are very, like, they're organized. Like, not like crazy,
Yes.
like, not like crazy, like,
like names on the seats and what I assume is a 15
most of
passenger
us
van that you guys owned.
Yes.
Yeah.
The second time I ever drove, the first time I ever drove on the highway was a 15 passenger van, and it was fucking terrifying.
Oh man, I wanted a 15 passenger van at one point.
Oh, there was
for,
a point-
my daily driving.
I eventually leaned into driving it whenever I had to,
I still think it's a good idea.
but, like, man, I got on the highway the first time I went to change lane, and I turned the wheel about this much, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna just tip over. Fuck. There's
Yeah.
so much machine.
There's a lot of van.
There's a lot of metal. There's a lot of surface area to just.
Yes, you guys are basically traveling tour anytime you go anywhere.
Well, we just don't all go to the same place very, very often. There's
That
like
adds up.
that's the real solution. We don't all need to go, do we?
No.
So guess
no,
what?
No, there's zero chance of that.
Sam, you're gonna stay home. You're gonna babysit 8 of the kids, and we're gonna take these 2 kids to their games. And
Got a little daycare.
dude, like the
The 8 of them.
number of diapers I have changed in my life, I will probably take on anybody that listens to this.
How many diapers have you changed?
I have
Greg?
not changed very many. I've probably only changed it a few times. So
I probably had over a 10-year block where I never went a day without changing at least one.
I have a 0
Wow.
in that department.
We are the opposite.
I have a fucking
We are not the same.
goose egg in changing
it's
diapers.
very weird because they're just tiny humans, and I'm like, well, what's happening?
Nope.
Oh yeah.
There has been someone else around. I would do it. It's not like I'm going to stand over there and be like, nah.
I won't help.
It's not like I'm just going to dunk a kid in water a bunch of times. I don't know the proper way of going about it.
I think you're thinking of a baptism.
It does stress me out a little bit, to be honest, just because a thing I've never done. I assume I could fuck it up, but then also...
I
don't
also
know,
had that
dumb,
worry.
but also, man, dumb people have had kids for so long.
In fact, they have way more.
I'm willing to bet I can
That's what
fucking knock this out.
I mean-
I bet I can knock it out and not
I think idiocracy.
in under a minute. Give me 5 reps and I can fucking change diapers.
Yeah.
100%.
It's not actually that hard. It's just it's the awkward. It's like you're a very small version of the human.
Yeah.
I've never been responsible for said child who would make shit on itself that I would need to
And-
watch it. Like no one's ever been like, "Hey
And
Matt,
for me,
would you
that-
like to
for me-
babysit for
for
us?"
me,
It's fucking
I was
never
doing that.
happened.
Yeah, I was doing that in middle school.
yeah.
Crazy. All right, I guess not crazy, but
It's just different.
very different.
Yeah,
we have
so-
very different existing.
So so getting out of the military was the first time. Now I don't have anything like that in my life, and so that was if I threw those numbers out there, I was like, I'm just gonna. CrossFit's the only thing that doesn't hurt me. CrossFit's the only thing that's giving me anything back at all. Like my friends had all bailed. Like everybody was gone.
Mhm.
Like it was amazing how many phones stopped working when I shot a text message, and then when we were in the same room, they'd be texting the whole time. Like it sucked. So that's just what I leaned into, for better or for worse. It was the first time having any like selfish type of time in my life.
Now, why do you think the people were weird?
I don't know. Like, to be honest, like I don't, and maybe that was one of the harder parts is I didn't understand, but like it was, I couldn't go do, there were certain things I couldn't go do or I wouldn't go do, or issues that I had to deal with because of the pain and all that sort of stuff. And I just didn't understand it. And 23-year-olds or 23-year-olds, they're fucking dumb.
Shit, dude.
Like,
Ain't no shit about that.
like I'm well aware of how stupid I was.
Yep.
Now, I wasn't at the time, but So like I said, so yeah, just threw those numbers out there.
No, and it's funny, right? Because it's easy now for me to look at you and try to think about you managing that period of time with empathy and being polite and understanding a bit more of where you're at versus the guy figuring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally different ballgame.
Because it was such an invisible injury and I didn't let go. So I didn't look the part either. So like that became a huge part. Like a lot of people really never respected what I was dealing with until the leg came off or until I announced that the leg was coming off. Like there was a lot of people that just didn't understand it, or they used the visual of me looking, I wasn't sloppy. I wasn't, I was training hard and eating well and
choosing to stay in control.
Correct.
Which makes people think that you can't have anything wrong with you.
Correct. And so like there were people I got phone calls after I announced that, that I posted, hey guys, this is what's going on. I just want to have this as a reference because I don't want to keep answering the question. Yes, I'm getting an amputation, made a post like that. I mean, I had dudes call me that basically I needed to calm them. They needed me to calm them down. They called me to see how I was doing. What the real answer was, they weren't doing well with this. It was really fucking up their reality. And like, you could just tell them like, man, so-and-so, like, you've known me for 7 years. You've known this is real. Like I've told you, we've talked about it.
Right.
And like, you could just tell that like the gravity never set in or it was never respected of what I was dealing with.
And so now all of a sudden, they get it.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah. So that was 9 years of people not getting it. 9 years of people working. At times it felt like working to not see what was going on.
Sure. They don't know what they don't know,
Because
man.
and I know that I was also working to hide. I totally own that I have a part in it because I did everything I could to not acknowledge it.
Right.
Again, for better or for worse, I did not want that to be who I was, even though the reality is it was. Sam was in like because I didn't have like, again, I wasn't just like, oh man, sometimes it hurts and sometimes it hurts bad.
Even the fact that any part of your energy is being used to hide this pain or shield away from what your truth is, right, at that moment.
Yeah, and I didn't want it.
They are, right. You don't want it. You're not sharing it. You're not being it. And so the person that it's creating and the person that you're acting as all the time isn't you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's probably not in alignment. Maybe that was the reason why people were like, oh, fuck this guy.
And look, I don't know a better solution, though, because being around the guy that's really truthful about his pain and fucking he sucks too, man.
He gets ditched too.
Yeah, of course.
And that's where he just, for years, just like, there's nowhere to win. No. There's no win to be had. There's not, like, the best case scenario is a loss.
Right.
And the worst case scenario is a major loss. And
and that's something, from, you're talking about early in the story and basically from the first time you talk to anyone, this has been a thing where no one's really believed what you're dealing with. Yeah,
like very few. It's a very small group. Like I'm not going to say no, but like my wife, again, if my wife wouldn't have been with me if she didn't understand the gravity of what I was dealing with. Again, I, for the life of me, just still don't understand her decision.
Yeah.
Like it's eternally, like a lot of this is for her. Like,
fuck you, man.
Like she needs it, man. Like, or she doesn't need it. She deserves it. Like she's fucking earned it. And like, that's what, like, I want to make sure that she gets a more comfortable life because she hung in there. Cause I was at a point where I couldn't do it to her anymore. Like that was the decision. Like I knew that eventually that was going to be the actual decision. It wasn't about my leg. It was about knowing that I wasn't going to be able to convince her to go do something different with her life if I was still around. And I just couldn't do it. Like I couldn't do it to her. I loved her too much.
Yeah.
And to me, that was like, I'd realized that my headspace was at a point of, to show that love, it was something has to end. And it can be my leg. Or it's going to be me. Like,
start with the leg.
That's what, there's a way better decision, right?
I mean, it sucks to feel that way about it, but I know that that's what you're dealing with, right? That like, well,
the guilt.
If
guilt
the
was
other
really
choice,
hard.
Yeah.
The guilt was a really hard part of the pain, because until she hung around and was willing to permanently move from Brazil to America, I had gotten the exact opposite from almost everybody. So I had years and years of just being, this is how relationships go for you. And it was disorienting. Like, I didn't understand. And
Yeah, why is she still here?
yeah, exactly. And it's like, this shit's getting worse. Like, she's watching it get worse now. She is now getting invited into the not big picture story at once. She's now in the grind.
I don't want to question it. Does it have to do with citizenship?
No.
No. You trapped her? Is that what we're dealing
Yes.
with here, Sam?
No.
How do we meet this Brazilian lady?
No, actually, I went the hard route on that one.
Like mail order?
No, that's easy. No. No, so she was in America as an au pair for a military family. She had a 2-year contract, and about a year and a half in, they moved from Savannah, Georgia to Scott Air Force Base.
Oh, right on.
They joined my gym. I never had to be social or anything, which is good because I never was.
Sick.
I still maintain that I used to be able to bring my dog to the gym every day. That she just wanted to hang out with him. He's pretty special. He is the only person that's been there from day one. I got him pretty soon after I got out of the military, and again, he is also a huge factor in why I'm still here. So I always just joked, like, yeah, she just wanted to walk the dog a bunch. We ended up somehow in her last 6 months in the country, we end up in a relationship. And I got to the point, like, it was weird because I had overstayed my last relationship. Like, it was that relationship for me. I was like, okay, this was the one that I overstayed and learned everything that I can't have in a relationship. And all of a sudden now this person that's getting ready to leave the country is checking the boxes in a way that I don't understand. She like left for a weekend, like 2 weeks in, and I'm like missed her. Like I felt like, and I was like, when the fuck did I miss people? Like,
yeah.
Like, so I knew really early on. So we were together for less than 6 months before I asked her to marry her. But I was like, she has to go to Brazil first. She hasn't been home in 2 years. I can't ask her to make that decision without that data. It felt like that was the right thing to do.
For sure.
And then her mom was like, why didn't you guys do this before you came back? Because the green card process would have been a lot easier.
Oh, she was got it. Well, we just found out having Luke Lewis on what a disaster that process was.
It's long. It's long. Like, and so that would have been an easier way, because if she'd gotten married to me while she was on that original visa, she just would have been allowed to stay. Paperwork would have been much different.
Sure.
Me doing the right thing for her meant,
hey man,
a much longer path. But
you've made hard decisions.
That's right. And I had harder ones coming.
Yeah.
Because we had not spoken about amputation yet. Like, that was not something that was on either of our radar. But
no,
at that point, she entered the grind. Like she entered the second by second grind that I talked about earlier. You're getting all the data now. I got it all 1 second at a time.
Sure.
So it was just crazy to think that somebody, after all these people that wouldn't, all these friends, all the,
or couldn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair. That's fair. Like I said, it's just I had just enough people stick it out. And like I said, got very, 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 very fortunate for those few, because they were the right few.
Yep. Yeah, man, that's fucking strong, dude. It's really, really stuff.
Yeah.
It's a fucking hell of a story, dude. And you just got back from competing at Wodapalooza.
Mm-hmm.
So that's big CrossFit competition.
Yep.
Down in Miami every year. And your team competed in the...
So...
Hit us with those. Wodapaloozas.
So Wodapalooza, I got an invitation from 2 other amputees that I've known through Instagram. So I've only been an amputee in COVID. So there hasn't been events. I've not actually met the adaptive community.
Okay.
So Wodapalooza was my first time meeting.
Weird. You lost a leg during COVID.
Yes. I wish I'd have done it sooner, because when we were all locked down, I could have coached. I could have kept working.
Do you wonder if you were vaccinated, would it have protected you from this?
No.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
No. No,
Fuck it, I like making jokes, whatever.
no. So what? Yeah. So what we did is I got invited. There are 2 other amputees, and they're like, "Hey, what do you think about doing an able-bodied team with us?" And I was like, I thought about it. You know, they were kind of telling me what they were thinking, and then I just saw this big opportunity, and I was like, "Yep." 1, I've only ever competed able-bodied, so what the fuck's the difference? 2, I haven't competed since 2016 in CrossFit, so who gives a shit? And
Right. Let's set the expectations.
So
where they
so
are.
for me to be hung up on it, didn't like that. There was no hang up there. I didn't care.
Right.
But what I saw was this huge opportunity for the adaptive division to like, in a sense, like I've gotten, so it's weird the support I've gotten from these people that I've never interacted with. They've only seen my social media. They've only seen some posts. And it's only recently that I've really started sharing my story on there. So it wasn't like they had all this stuff to get invested in. So I was really grateful for that. And I thought like, this is this like gift, almost this offering. I can come to the table, the adaptive community's table and be like, I'm here to contribute.
Right.
And what I saw was that in the adaptive division, what tends to have, or what the big struggle is, you know, building a fan base. And that's hard for that's hard for everything. For the adaptive community, it's the big obstacle is people tend to look at it and what they see is, oh, look how motivational there. It's so inspiring. It tickles their feel good. There's not a lot of like athleticism that they're seeing, even though they're seeing very high levels of athleticism. But it's a point of reference issue. Like I don't expect you to understand what it takes to use that thing. And
Right.
I don't, and if you're watching 3 amputees compete against each other, you don't really gain any of that perspective, right? So my thought was like, well, let's fix this. We'll go compete against everybody's buddy. So everybody in those stands, they knew somebody in there and they knew exactly how fit they were.
Yeah.
So even though we were not competitive, there are structures of adaptive events that account for things that are an issue for adaptive doing able body, but that wasn't an issue. We knew that we were going to walk into that.
Sure.
And, but so they see me holding my own next to their buddy and they're like, well, fuck, he's fit. Well, I know exactly how fit Dave is.
Right.
And how this guy missing a leg is hanging. Oh, fuck, he just beat him in that. Like I had an event on Sunday where I beat a handful of guys in my heat. Like,
Fuck yeah.
Oh yeah. It was the event going into the weekend. I was like, I'm going to put on a fucking show here. Like I'm going to make this run perfect. So if anyone's not perfect, they're going to get beat by a dude missing a bit. So to me, that was the big opportunity. Was we could demonstrate our fitness in a language that we knew they understood, their workout, not our workout, them coming over. And it was just really an incredible experience. One, for myself personally, I got on there on the second event really, and I found a piece of myself that I didn't realize I was missing. And I found a piece of the old machine that I'm like, fuck yes, let's go. Like that killer that wanted to do special operations. Like,
right
like
on.
I found a piece of that guy again out
Yeah,
there.
some light.
Just kind of getting into that zone. And so like, that was enough for me. But then like, as the weekend goes along, we've got people stopping us. Oh shit, that was so cool. That was like, we didn't realize how fit these guys were. I even had somebody say, was the adaptive division still going on? I want to go watch some more. Like, that's what we wanted, right?
Hell yeah.
We're trying to grow the fan base, but I'm trying to take the perspective of their perspective. Like, I've got this unique perspective now.
They need to have a reference point.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's something that a lot of people that, like, if they're an adaptive athlete, like congenital or like their whole life, that's all they've ever known, maybe they don't understand that difference in perspective or how hard it is to understand that. You know, I've learned after 10 years of doing all this, over 10 years of training and all that stuff, then I ended up in this boat. I've got this weird mix of perspective.
Sure.
So I'm like, how do I use this to help us all? And that's one of the things that I felt that this was an opportunity to do that. It came literally knocking on my door. It showed up in my DMs. When Omar got a hold of me, it was like, hey, I think you should do this with Marcus and Brandon. So it was cool. I mean, by the time I left Miami, I had messages from adaptive athletes in 4 different countries just saying like literally all of them had the word thank you in it. And then something along the lines of they just never thought they'd see something like that and how like cool it was and how empowering it was. And I was, part of me was like, the initial reaction, it's like to deflect. Cause to me, I'm like, I just did some sandbag cleans and rope climbs, but like,
Sure.
but like at the same time, like I came to this conclusion. I'm like, well, I don't determine my value. Like who am I to detract from the value somebody sees in something? Like, that's just not how things work. Like,
that imposter syndrome is a motherfucker, huh?
There's that, and it's like in that moment, I realized, like, at our heart, like, we're all kind of capitalists. Value is what we see it, and to me, that's what capitalism, right? Like, or to me, that's like the root, not like the economic shit, but like from a capitalist, or that's how I kind of saw it. I was like, and that's when I started to realize, I was like, if I don't, just because I don't feel like what I did out there was special, you know, I didn't hit a big lift, or I didn't do this, that, or have some crazy performance where I like almost died on the floor.
Sure,
you know, I never
right.
had any of that, you know, that doesn't make it less valuable to this guy in Argentina.
No, man.
Who's sitting there like,
You know, he
not
just needs
not
to
sure
see
what's
it's
possible. Exactly.
He needs to see impossible shit happen.
And that's where like the phrase representation matters. My perspective on that has warped a lot. Born as a white guy in the Midwest.
Sure.
There wasn't a whole lot of like understanding of that phrase. To me now, I still kind of have the same viewpoint of like, no, it doesn't, in terms of like, there's nothing getting in your way. To me, it's a call to action. If representation matters, and it seems to a lot of people, once you've acknowledged that, it's your responsibility to go be that representation. So that's kind of how I've viewed it. Like, let's go. Like, it's a responsibility. And I do fine with that. Like, again, that's how I've grown up, and I feel peace there.
Right.
I feel peace
and
having
you've leaned into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at first I didn't. And I was like, I'm kind of the new guy on the block here. Why am I getting these? These are not questions for a guy who's had a leg for 7 months.
What an interesting thing to feel like you don't deserve it.
I wouldn't go as far as to say I feel like I don't deserve it. It's
Well,
just,
I mean,
it's
you
just
think
more
someone
like,
deserves it more.
yeah. Or I sit there like, man, or I see why somebody would not come to me for this.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, why discredit the unique story that you went through and all the pain and all that stuff, and immediately now that you're out of pain, write it off as like, hoof, don't talk about that ever again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one, definitely. And that's part of like, though, that realization though, that I came to, it kind of helped me with all that, with the whole idea that like, man, if I don't think it was that special, then that's really just a vote of confidence that I've really got something special in the tank. Like, to me, like I turned it into a source of confidence and a reason to believe that like big shit's going to happen if I set myself up to do big shit. Plain and simple. Like, so I've been trying to work on just learning how to turn these things into votes of confidence instead of reasons to say no, or reasons to hesitate or slow down, or I don't quite do that. You know, that's something that I'm really working on. And like I said, Wodapalooza really opened my eyes and really helped me kind of have that like light bulb go off.
Right.
Yeah. So,
No, totally. I totally see it, dude. And seeing you in the last couple of weeks being around here at the gym, like, I've seen it switch on and see you start realizing like what this big opportunity that you have in front of you could be if you're willing to go for it.
Yep.
None of it's fucking easy, but
no,
clearly that's not the path you've chose
going
thus far anyway.
It's pretty damn hard to go nowhere too.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I went nowhere for years.
Done doing that.
Yeah. That was hard.
So you said earlier in the podcast that you're writing programming for adaptive athletes. Where can everyone start finding everything?
So the programming stuff is very new. Still working on that. It's Schaefer Adaptive Methods on Instagram. It's, like I said, just got some real baseline stuff out there right now. I have a program I call the First Step. And it is literally for a brand new amputee. So, or I'm an amputee. I'm going to start doing I'm going to go to the gym now. Anybody in that category, I wrote this program for the way I would want to, where, like, again, this is the program that I would do if I had to restart from zero. And like, because honestly, that's the perspective I'm trying to share now, because I got to prove all my concepts. Like, I see it's very similar to Kelly Starrett. When he had his knee replacement, he got to be like, hey, if you run the play, if you run my concepts, you run my play exactly, like, I'm going to be the perfect student here. This is what can happen. I've gotten to do the same thing, and holy shit, is it cool. Like, you know how many people get 10 years into training, like, God, I wish I'd have known this day one. I wish somebody would have told me this day one, or this, that, I hear it all the time. I wish I'd have started this sooner, or this knowledge that I got to restart at zero. with over 10 years, with over a decade of knowledge and understanding of how to execute.
Yep.
I am trying to figure out how to bridge that gap because almost nobody gets that gift. So like, that's a huge goal. Like, and most of it, I believe most of it's up here. I believe most of it happens with your mindset and how you're thinking and how you're talking about stuff to yourself and to others. And like the training, like this program, this first step program, there's plenty of ways to get the job done just as well. Like we can change exercises and rep schemes and get just as good results. Like I've got no idea, no concept that this is some end all be all, like every ounce of it has very particular specific magic. But my hope is that one day to be able to take what I did with this program, to have proved it enough times that I can then bring it to more people who work with them and be like, hey, this is the concepts. This is how I wrote this program. This is why these movements were selected. Now you can go and write one for your adaptive athletes and all that sort of stuff. So there's a big goal to just like really bring that to everybody and to like bring that to like, because it's not just athletes that need it, it's coaches. You know, there's a lot of coaches that say, I want to help the adaptive community. I want to
and
work
here's
with
information
amputees.
From a coach that is in the adaptive community and has had experience as both.
I'm writing the stuff. I'm trying to fill in all the gaps that I felt existed.
Any surprises, like with training modalities that you thought you would have done before, you know, like, okay, we'll do this afterwards. And now that you're in that position, you're like, no, not that great.
Honestly, I felt like I went into it very level-headed and I didn't have, none of my expectations involved lifting numbers or anything like that.
Right on.
Because like I said, I had decided, I just flat out made the decision. You know what? I completed that checklist. Most people never get to realize that piece, or they never get the opportunity to put their money where their mouth is. So I made that decision right there. Haven't looked back on it. Honestly, like I said, I mean, what I've learned is it's not as hard as I thought. Like it's very hard, but how it was hard was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like I can snatch. I did not think I was not so certain that was ever really going to be a thing, but I can pull a bar from the floor, pull under it, and it looks pretty good.
Right on. Looks better than mine currently does.
I probably got a little mobility on you on that one,
which is fucking great.
But no, like, I don't know. Like I said, like I don't know. I've just been so excited to take it on. I've not really viewed anything that way.
Fuck yeah. Good,
I wish I had a better answer, but
no, that's a great answer. Then
but
the mindset is that you're staying in this exploratory state and
always
you're
practicing,
really driving, going forward with it. Man, Sam, I've loved to have you on, dude. This is great. I've learned a lot. I can't wait to see more of your legs and the other stuff that we do.
Yeah, we gotta get that ice skate.
Where can people finally find everything you need?
Cool. So my personal page, that's the one to really get into and follow is Sam Schaefer 1 on Instagram. That's really all I'm doing too much as far as like social media is concerned. It's mostly it's all on Instagram. And then Schaefer at Schaefer Adaptive Methods as well. If you're into more of the educational side and the movement side of things. And the kicker is, even if you're a coach or an athlete, you want a page to learn from. There's going to be things that are specific to the prosthetic and to being an amputee, but what I've learned is movement's still movement. Good deadlift's still a good deadlift.
Right.
It's just another way to view it. There are things that I've learned on how to cue myself to use this that I now use for all my athletes.
Ah, okay.
Like I've learned how to coach leg drive in a whole new way.
Interesting. Yeah, because you don't have a foot.
No. So like, for example, there's a concept we use called joint symmetry. So we got to take the last major joint that I have on both sides, in my case, my knees, and I have to figure out how to create the same positions for them. So like for example, that widens out my squat because typically you'd have some rotation in your ankles that kind of drives out wide that gives your hips room. Well, that doesn't happen over here now. And then I just started trying to figure that out. And now, like, I literally use this cue with tons of athletes now. When they go to pull a bar off the floor, I was like, all right, active feet, push your knees into your ankles, keep your chest up.
Right on.
Like, I'm sitting here I'm like almost like bouncing out of my seat.
Yeah,
so I'm starting to get
right.
that leg drive, like thinking about like driving. And so it's more just, you'll see an alternate way to think about some stuff and alternate ways to kind of learn. Cause that's really that's in the end, I want to create a bunch of material that amputees can teach themselves. Like a lot of like things that give them the feedback they need. So.
And for those, please reach out to Sam. Sam's here in St. Louis area near us. I've been stoked to get to know you, dude, and stoked to have you part of our community here.
No, it's been awesome. I really like, yeah, Sundays have been sick. Like there's an energy to it. And it makes me think of how you describe the Husafell Stone. You want to meet the strongest people on earth? Just hang out there, right? They'll show up.
Yeah, man.
I kind of feel like you got a little bit of that going on. I think you've got some momentum on that one.
Thank you, man.
So
it feels good. It feels good having a lighthouse per se to put up whatever it is and draw in our type of people to do our type of thing.
Correct. Like I said, no, it's working.
So thanks, man. And thank you guys for listening. We will see you next week. Check out Sam. Peace.